Monitoring. Monitoring is what happens between the time you submit your application to QCTO with evidence, and it carries on until the point where you receive your accreditation letter in your hand and are accredited to start training and enrolling learners. Let's have a quick recap on where we've been. The introduction was where we talked about what this video series is about and why we're doing it. Eligibility was when we had a look at whether or not you as a training provider are eligible for accreditation. Application is when we submitted the data and evidence needed by the QCTO to prove that you are eligible for accreditation. Monitoring is when we follow up your accreditation application to the end until you receive your letter, but we also do some prep during that time. And arriving is when you receive your QCTO accreditation letter. So let's get started on monitoring. Monitoring includes two parallel processes. We run these two processes concurrently so that we don't lose time. During the time that we go from submitting your application to you receiving your accreditation letter, there are two things going on. The one is following up. Your application, you submit it to QCTO. The QCTO passes that to one of their quality assurance partners, which would be a SETA most of the time. The SETA will then audit you and send your application recommendation, hopefully, back to QCTO. When it gets back to QCTO, it goes back and forth between various departments until eventually you get that QCTO accreditation letter in your hand. So there's the QCTO, there's the SETA, and there's various departments, so your application does a bit of a journey. In the time that it takes that process to happen, which is 90 working days is QCTO's turnaround time, whether they meet that time or not, sometimes they're early, mostly they're late, but during the time that happens, we don't want to waste time, or we just don't want to squander the time that we have to spend waiting. So during that time, we prepare the quality management system. We prepare it for the audit specifically, but also we prepare it to have it ready because there are more visits from the QCTO and the SETAs after you become accredited. We also want to prepare our venue before the audit so that when it is audited, everything at the venue is as it should be. And you're also being prepared for the audit so that when the audit happens, which is not the end of the process, but closer to the end of the process, that you are ready. We do all of that, we follow up and we prepare at the same time. They run parallel. We do not run those processes consecutively because we would waste time. We run them concurrently.